Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and happy May the 4th be with you. Um, yeah, normally when I would do a science fiction film, I'd have my Doctor Who get up, but as it is rather hot, that overcoat's a little hard to wear. So, with my steampunk hat and my Grogu shirt, close enough. For our celebration of Star Wars, we are looking at The Man Who Saved the World, also known as Turkish Star Wars. Uh, the thing about Turkey is their copyright laws are between lax and non existent. So their films tend to incorporate any number of copyrighted characters. Star Trek, some of the film works they've done include Yarasa Adam Bitmin, also known as Turkish Batman, sort of in the vein of the Adam West show, although it's way crazier. They also did The Return of Superman, which was basically just a Turkish low budget remake of Superman. And probably the one they're most known for outside of this one is 3 Dev Adam, aka Three Giant Men, which detailed the exploits of the master criminal Spider Man, who has to contend with Captain America and El Santo, who have been brought in by the authorities to thwart him. Yeah, if you're not going to care about copyright law, why should you care about character canon either? Anyways, this film stars Turkish superstar Cüneyt Arkin, who made something around 250 films and TV appearances. Some of his better known films over here include the Three Superboys Strike Again and the Three Superman Against the Godfather. They're sort of a takeoff on the Italian Three Fantastic Supermen that was done in the 60s and 70s, and Turks in Space. Now, the film itself was originally intended to be a comedy, and it's also 2.5 hours long, but most Turkish films are about half that. So they chopped about an hour of it. When doing that, the film became kind of disjointed, and it appeared more like an intentional comedy than an intentional one. Now, originally they weren't going to use any footage from Star Wars, but a storm hit and destroyed all their spaceship sets, and the studio couldn't really afford to pay to reconstruct. So the director bribed a night watchman, swiped a copy of Star Wars that was in a theater, copied it overnight, and sent it back. So the space scenes are all cribbed from Star Wars. Of course, Star Wars was in a widescreen, and this was shot in a standard old style before widescreen. So the Star Wars footage got kind of compacted. So you'll see the Death Star is more oblong than round. Again, copyright laws are lax to non existent. And as for the music, well, again, scores are cribbed from everything. The Batman film had cuts from Raiders of the Lost Ark and Led Zeppelin's Kashmir. This film included scores taken from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the James Bond film Moonraker, Flash Gordon, The Black Hole, Planet of the Apes, and Ben-Hur, the Charlton Heston film. Star Wars wasn't the only thing they cribbed from. They also took some scenes from the old AIP fantasy film, The Magic Sword. And, yeah. And this was hopefully going to be the film that saved the studio. It bombed originally, and the studio went bankrupt, and has since become a cult classic for how out and out just crazy it is. And the plot really doesn't have a lot to do with Star Wars. See, there's this wizard who lives on this other planet, and he's been attacking Earth, but he has trouble getting through the shield that surrounds Earth, which is controlled by human brains.
Let the attack begin.
Oh yeah, they apparently cribbed some dialogue from Battlestar Galactica too. But don't be fooled by that, because this is all in the Turkish language.
Dünyayı koruyan tabakayı delmeliyiz. Dünyayı yok edin.
Well, luckily, I managed to find a plot synopsis, so I at least know what the heck's going on in this thing. Anyway, the wizard, we're going to call him the wizard, figures out the only way to get through the shield is he needs to take a human Earth person captive and study their brain. He's determined to do this after the Star Wars footage dogfight ends in his defeat and he has to retreat. The two heroes of the dogfight, Murat and Ali, are then sent by Earth to find this enemy that's been attacking them. And they end up crash landing on a planet.
Holy demolition! That's my dustpan.
Geez, that's a heck of a crash. I don't think anybody could survive that.
Holy horseshoe!
Never mind. Now we get a short sequence of them walking and viewing such amazing sights as the Sphinx. The Sphinx. Anyways, it's not too long before some soldiers set upon them and we get to see some of that patented arc in action.
Hi, keeper!
You can see why he was a major star. Anyways, eventually they are captured and they are taken to the wizard where they witness some gladiatorial battles. much for our stalwart heroes, and they get into a huge fight. Heavily wounded, they manage to escape, where they wake up in a cave where their wounds are being tended to by Keezy.
You're not rugged, it's true.
I do believe she has been smitten by Marat, and he likewise with her. Well, after that, they meet the elder. What is his name? Bilgen, I think. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, Bilgen. And he explains that in a very long voiceover with footage that, see, back during years ago, the Earth was in a war, major nuclear war, and it blew the planet apart. So the Earth that we know as Earth is not a whole planet. And the planet they're on is one of those pieces. It is home to the 13th tribe of humanity. I think they're cribbing some plot from Battlestar Galactica as well as dialogue. Anyways, the reason the wizard tends to collect humans and take them and fight them in gladiatorial battles is that he needs the blood. It's what nourishes the soldiers, I think. Anyways, we then get a training montage as they heal up, and then they head back to the village where we get trouble in a cantina. A cantina, hey? Anyway, I think we all know what's going to happen here.
Jim Carter.
Man, Harkin's got some moves on him. Anyways, eventually, Marat and Ali are captured and taken to the wizard, who separates them and then for some reason sends Ali to a room where the queen is.
Ben bu gezegenin Sex.
Oh. Yes, okay. As for Marat, he's given an audience with the wizard, and it's revealed the source of the wizard's power. Oh. It's a brain. Well, brain's unable to force the secret of the force field. So he decides Marat's gonna compete in a gladiatorial competition. And he has a little ace up his sleeve if Marat refuses.
Get in!
Oh, no! He's got Kizzy and her little brother. Oh, this is terrible. He's got no choice. Because earlier before he left, he pledged his undying love to her. and apparently taught her about kissing. So, into the gladiatorial ring he goes, and he's not doing too bad against the monsters, but he's getting outnumbered when we get a surprise.
Çok gürültü yaptın. Kadının kocaları geldi. Hayret, kadınları bırakıp da nasıl geldin?
Yep. Seems that the Queen's charms were not enough to get Ali to betray the Earth. But even though they are now winning the fight, you know the bad guys don't play fair.
Işınlayın! Işınlayın!
Man, can't trust anyone's word on these planets. Well, next they try to torture the secret out of them. And when that doesn't work, he's fed up and just has them buried alive.
Alabilirsin.
Nasty. Oh, as for the Queen's failure, well, he has another fate installed for her. Seems rather excessive. But yes, that is footage of Mela Nurmi, aka Vampira, from the Magic Sword. And then he unburies them, has them in another battle, at which point they escape with Kizzy, and they're taken to Belgium, where we get another story from, this time from the brain, about a sword. And how this is the only thing that can kill the wizard. Excuse me. Sorry, I had a sneeze. At this point, Kizzy can now speak because she had been prevented to keep the sword a secret. But since now it's not secret, she can speak. But then it turns out Allie is an Allie.
I'm shocked.
Oh no! Allie was really some more footage from the magic sword. And the sword's able to kill this footage without even touching it. Amazing! As for what happened to the real Allie? Yeah. Allie is being tortured to try and, well, the machine's trying to get him to reveal the secret to the defense shield. But Allie is tougher than that. And he resists long enough for Murat to rescue him. But then, as they are going to give the sword to Bilgen, I think that's right. It's a very convoluted plot. Allie proves himself to be about as trustworthy as his doppelganger was.
Ben neyi seçeceğimi biliyorum. Ver kılıcı.
And these are best friends. Anyway, Allie goes to Bilgen and gives him the sword.
fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
Yep, it was the wizard the whole time. It was just a ruse to get them to bring him the sword. And then after he beats the crap out of Allie, he says he has what he needs and disappears, but he still left the sword there for them. Anyways, they find Bilgen and Kizzy and her little brother in a cave where Bilgen dies, and then even though they were warned about leaving, Allie goes.
Onun intikamını alacağım. Dur! Ali! Ali!
Yep, they are now trapped in the cave. And we get a heartfelt final words of being forgiven for, the earlier treachery of trying to take the glory of the sword or whatever.
Sen kolay kolay her numarayı yutmazsın, bilirim. Hatırın için ölmeyeceğim.
Get you right here. Anyway, Marat decides to use the sword in a way they are not expecting. He melts it down. Yep. Now he has fists of whatever that sword was made of. And he's ready to take on the monsters.
Hi, Kiba.
And with them out of the way, and he's basically leading revolution as everybody's revolting, it's time for Mano a Wizard.
I've had worse.
He cut him in half. Whoa! What an ending. Anyway, well, this has been going on. We've gotten some more Star Wars footage. Apparently, Earth was leading an attack at the same time as the rebellion and everything else. And the threat is over. The planet is now free of tyranny. And Marat and Kizzy can have a family together along with her little brother and live out their lives in happiness.
Sizi çok seviyorum.
Gidecek misin?
Evet, bundan sonra kötülüğün olmayacağı dünyama dönüyorum.
Or he could say goodbye and go back to Earth in some stock footage. I thought they had a connection. Anyway, that was The Man Who Saved the World. also known as Lion Man, because of you know. Anyhow, this it's easy to see why this is a cult favorite. It is crazy. Not just with the footage that they took from Star Wars, sound bites from Battlestar Galactica, Bruce Lee, it sounds like Godzilla, uh, the music from so many different sources. Oh my word! I've not seen too many Turkish films. I think it's the only one I've ever seen, so I'm not sure how accurate it is to most of their films. But I'm going to assume it's a fairly typical example, and it is crazy. Lots of running around, lots of martial arts battles that are kind of fun to watch. A lot of narration because since they chopped so much out of the film, they needed the narration to explain the gaps in the action of what was going on, who was doing what to who, and why. But even still a bit convoluted. Not quite sure why they had to give the sword to Bilgin. It doesn't matter. probably the probably the translation I was basing the plot on wasn't as accurate as I'd hoped, or who knows. But just for a visual standpoint, visual standpoint, it's pretty fun. The action's pretty crazy. They've got all the tropes. The action montage of him training. The really weird moment where he makes these bizarre gloves out of his hands with the sword so that he could fight like a lion, apparently. Anyway, still think he should have stayed. That would have been a good ending. But no, he's got to go back to Earth for more adventures, apparently. And got the Star Wars footage, which is basically just the space battles and rear projected so that they look like they're in space. It's just pretty hilarious to see. Uh, Here, I'll show you. Nobody will notice. Anyway, such a goofy film. I know it was intended to be a comedy, and it is very funny just on its own. but with the addition of the Star Wars, it makes it hysterical. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, there's not much more to say about this. Uh, Please hit like, share, subscribe. Stay after credits are my favorite scene.